when I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain, when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance, and when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink.
Very good, Brian. Very good. I liked what you were doing with the variation, the rhythm. But I think that you can still connect that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain. When I have fears, that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you want a clear pathway. You don't want to have to make stops and then a U-turn to get to back the same road, right? When I have fears, that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain. And I like the way you're using the language, Brian, without stressing, for the most part. I think there was one instance where I thought you stressed more than you inflected. But there was a really beautiful image of the shadows. When I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more. You never have relish in the faery power. The faery power of unreflecting love. Whatever you did there was really nice, because I was thinking, oh, he's going to take a breath, but you didn't at some points there, and it really enhanced the thought rather than making it unclear. So that was good. I liked the hold like rich garners of full-ripen'd grain. So you're keeping the metaphor alive, but not letting us forget what the metaphor is about. You kind of threw away high romance, but I think we need to know that it means something. High romance, huge cloudy symbols of a high romance. It was just kind of a throwaway, and I don't know why, but it just didn't sit right with me. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I think it could mean something a little bit more to you, which would then mean something more to us.
Yeah.
Then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone. Think and think, till love and fame to nothingness to see. So I think, Brian, that little word "think" in the compass is counterpointed against everything else up to that point.
Yeah.
So try it again. It was very good, Brian. Very, very good. Just these little details can make it even greater.
Sure.
Okay.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink.
Okay. I thought think this time was heavily stressed.
Maybe I went up too high.
I think it was too loud.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of a intervallic leap, he chose to convey
Yeah, a vault.
volume. Now,
Yeah.
now, make sure you don't get into this Obama thing, the way he fools everybody into thinking that he's some passionate, great speaker. He'll start talking about, America, and he goes, and we're better than that. He goes into this,
Yeah.
this reading, this, America just is not that. We are not that kind of nation.
Yeah.
And we can do, it's this kind of,
It's a false emotion. It's like,
yeah, it's false. It's a trick.
yeah. Well, I caught myself doing it, but it was in the rear view of the sonnet, and I couldn't. I was like, oh, that wasn't truthful. That was just me saying I should be feeling something here, so let me quiet my voice. But
Yeah.
I just gotta keep going.
No, it's okay, Brian. I think you can do it once or twice, but I think you did it probably 4 or 5 times.
Oh, okay.
So try to get rid of that and do it again.
Okay.
Don't rush it. Don't rush it.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has...
What's the downward inflection on fears? You said, when I had fears.
Okay, yeah. When I have fears that I may
Make sure
see...
you're saying have. You said, when I have fears. I have, right?
Yep. When I have fears that I may cease...
But don't stress fears.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry...
You're rushing. You rush the second before high-piled books. Give us a chance to chew on what you've said without giving us another spoonful before we
Yeah.
before we're ready to follow what you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold...
Watch that Obama stuff.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and know that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, to love and fame, to nothingness do sink.
Nothingness. Okay, so Brian.
Yeah.
What's happening now is that it's kind of throwing you these notes. Simplify it and let the sonnet work on you. Don't try to manipulate it, or don't try to anticipate anything.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't convey anything but the thought beautifully and succinctly, you've accomplished great things, something great. So don't worry about any emotion that you feel you have to convey. So all you really have to do is convey the thoughts, and if they work on you, they work on you. If they don't, then just continue conveying the thoughts. Don't worry about trying to get some kind of emotional effect. But if it happens to you, it happens to you. Okay?
Yep. Oh, hey, Robert? I don't know if it's on your end or our end, but it's like you're breaking up. You hear me okay?
Okay, how are we doing?
It sounds beautiful now.
Okay, great.
Okay. I guess I'll just go again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be.
Man, right there, it just sounds like the thought has stopped.
When
I have fears that I may cease to be. Right?
Yeah. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and know that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone.
Hold on, Brian, hold on. You said unreflecting love.
Yeah.
And I think it's unreflecting love. Unreflecting love. Because you're giving, otherwise you're saying that love is unreflecting.
Mm.
Unreflecting love. Stupid love. Dumbass love. Instead of stupid love.
Mm.
A kind of love that is stupid, right?
Yep.
Also, you set up something that you don't have to continue back to, which is, when I have this, and then these series of befores, before, when I behold, and when I feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. It becomes a rhythmical redundancy if you use those in exactly the same way. When I have fears, when I behold, and when I feel, that's redundant. When I have fears, that I may cease to be before my. When I behold upon the night starr'd face is a nice variation of that, right?
Yeah.
Before my pen is glean'd my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, right? And when I feel, fair creature of an hour. I mean, this last time you said, when I feel, fair creature of an hour, we don't know what that means. Could be talking about a bug of some kind that only lives for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Try it again.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has glean'd my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, to love and fame, to nothingness to sink.
Good. Much better. Sometimes we have a tendency to throw away some of these little words that mean or can really help you convey stuff like huge, when I behold upon the night starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, instead of huge cloudy symbols of a, I mean, it's just...
That I'm...
like, I think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel for a creature of an hour, for a creature of an hour, never have relish in the faery power right?
You're saying that I just stream these things as phrases and just sort of go through them versus allowing them to
have the proper the proper value, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's just being aware of how sometimes these little words are connectors that you can really use to help convey the sense that much better.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, try it again. Now, that was much better. See if you can do it without any kind of Obama soft breath kind of thing, okay? Just so I know you can do it.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold...
Hey, hold on. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, and before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. It's two different things. I'm afraid of these things here. I'm afraid that I may die before I have used all the creativity in my brain, and before that has manifested itself in books and libraries of all my thoughts. So
was I running? Okay. Was I running it together as like one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Versus.
Sharpen the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The nuance. Okay.
I see what you mean.
All right.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows.
Hey, hold on, Brian.
Yep.
Sorry. That was much better.
Yep.
I remember, he has three things. When I have fears, when I behold, that's different.
Yeah.
And when I feel, but it cannot be the same way that you said it, when I have fears.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to take the challenge up of not doing anything to my voice to artificially give it a chance. You know what I mean? Like you said, don't this Obama thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of.
But that means you need higher inflections.
Okay. Yeah.
Higher intervallic leads. Okay.
Yep.
We're not going into that breathing kind of thing.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance.
Brian, hold on. So if you had dropped when I behold behold.
Oh, yeah.
I behold. Right?
Oh, yeah, I thought I would end lower on grain, and then that way I could go higher on the next one, is the way I was sort of planning it.
Well, I didn't,
maybe it wasn't...
It didn't,
yeah, it doesn't...
because I'm saying this, otherwise I wouldn't have said anything,
yeah.
but, maybe you just didn't, you thought you went lower on, the previous line, but
yeah.
it's still not quite enough contrast.
It makes more sense to do it that way, too, because otherwise I'm trying to do some huge, like... super leap.
Yeah, you always have to drop after, you know.
Yeah. It makes sense to end higher and then go lower.
Yeah.
Okay. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink.
Nothingness to sink. I don't think you have to do much with the sink. Also, you said, and when I feel, and when I... You didn't give us the idea that you're making a... it's not the same thing as when I behold and when I have fears.
Yeah.
So, and when I feel, and when I feel, it's not when I behold, it's not when I have fears. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I tried to, you know what I was thinking there is that because it's monosyllabic, I thought maybe if I use that series in a way, to give it a change, a shift.
No, I heard the monosyllabic, but I didn't hear
an inflection,
more important, and that is, you know, a thought, a new thought starting something else.
Yeah, yeah.
A new idea.
Yeah.
And also, I think, Robert, a sense that it's building on the one before.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting more intense with each of the, when I fear, when I behold, when I feel.
Yeah.
It's like each one's a little more intense than the other one. It's driving.
Yes, yeah. You're still getting into that breath thing, Brian. I want you to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And only use it.
What?
Only use it sparingly.
Yeah, I was trying to be real conscious of that, and I guess it's maybe just ingrained in me in this sonnet, almost, in a way.
Could be, yeah. but just full voice. Think full voice. Try it one more time, Brian.
Full voice.
Okay.
Now, see if you can get rid of some of these breathing places that breathing points that you've set up, and so instead of thinking of some of these breathing places as stop signs, just think of them as yellow lights where you keep going instead of taking the breath.
Okay.
Okay. And even in that first line, when I have fears that I may cease to be, right? All right, here we go.
when I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned.
Cease to be. Cease to be. Cease to be. Cease is really important.
Cease to be.
Cease. At least equal emphasis. Cease be. Will no longer live. Okay, again, Brian. Relax, Brian. I think you're overthinking it, okay?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Okay.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books and charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold, upon the night-starred face, huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows.
Brian, go back. You're really rushing.
Huh?
Even the first quatrain, even the first quatrain was rushed.
Yeah, I was kind of consciously doing that, I think. I thought that, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny thing. You don't want to put stop signs in, you want to make them yield. So I had kind of the idea that I would just sort of...
No, I think I know what you were, why you were doing it, but you can still do that without rushing.
Okay. Okay.
That's why we have dramatic suspensions, right? And all those other techniques. Okay.
Yeah. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books and charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold, upon the night-starred face, huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think. To love and fame, to nothingness do sink.
I think when you go through this last one, Brian, it's funny how you started off, and it sort of devolved a little bit. But when you first did it, it's been much better. But I think you'll find in this last one, you were almost, there was hardly any shifts in any vocal shift. The most obvious one was "Then on the Shore," and there should have been many, many more. And when I feel, even if you're going to use a monosyllabic series, you have to distinguish what when he's feeling, when he's beholding, and when he has fears.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're going to use the monosyllabic thing. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more. Try it one more time, Brian. See if you can get rid of these kind of, if you can modify your choices. The choices that you've made up to this point.
when I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books...
Even there, you could, a shift would have been nice. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my brain has gleaned my... Before my... What, right?
Yeah.
Think vocal shift.
Yeah. When I have fears that I may cease...
You're starting too high.
When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charact'ry hold like rich garners the full-ripen'd grain. When I behold upon the night's starr'd face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and feel that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the faery power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, to love and fame, to nothingness to sink.
Much better. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
Was it much better?
It's better.
Hey, Brian?
Yeah, it's funny.
There was more vocal shifts.
I couldn't tell. I'm sure in the tape I'll see it, but yeah, I wasn't sure.
Well, it could be that you were just that because you were doing these things, it sounded so effortless to yourself that you didn't see. It didn't seem like you were doing anything different, but it was much different. And the vocal shifts were really, I think, key. Don't you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it's much better when there's vocal shifts. There was just more of a sense that the thoughts were differentiated from one another. Like that they...
Yeah.
It wasn't just one thing. It was...
a changing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that was very good, Brian. Are you working on another one?
I haven't been. Yeah, I want to. I'd like to if it's okay with you, stay on Keats.
Shakespeare.
Just because I've been reading some of the letters and stuff, and I think it's it's pretty interesting. So if you're okay with that, and then Joanne and I were talking about a scene. Although she's leaving now, now that I think about it, we won't have much time with the scene. But yeah.
Well,
yeah, maybe.
If you want to continue with the Keats, start learning another one, but bring this one back.
Okay.
Because I just want you to keep working on these nuances.
Yeah.
So when you review this, you'll remember some of the things that we were talking about. When we talk about simplifying, it means so many things. But when you got rid of some of these phrasing points and just found another logical place a little further down, it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Because sometimes we think, okay, we've made these choices, they're good choices, we'll keep them. But, what you really want to do is keep perfecting them. So a good choice is not any reason, a good choice doesn't mean if there isn't a better choice that comes from what you've said before and what you're about to say. So every time you do a sonnet, yes, you have so many logical places where you can, where you can take your breaths and do your phrasing points. But the main thing is that you're keeping the thought. You're expressing the thought, and you're not living on some template. The template is never, of course, the thing that you're wanting to convey.
Yeah.
It's the thought. The template just helps you to convey.
Yeah. Yeah,
So just keep that in mind.
I guess, like last time when we worked, I was able to get somewhere, and I think with you can run into the problem of taking those choices from that time where you maybe made a breakthrough, and like that becomes the template. Like, okay, this is the way I'm going to do it. Versus being, letting the thoughts be your template. Really, the thoughts are what's important, and.
Yeah, because you're never going to be able to recreate it exactly anyway.
Yep.
So why not just have fun finding it again?
Yep.
Because once you've learned how to play the piano, then when you pick up a piece, you find all kinds of nuances that you can add, and make the piece that much richer. Even though that these choices that I made early on are good choices, they're solid choices. They're still jumping off points.
Yep.
To get more nuance, right? So bring this one back, Brian, and start working on another one. This one's getting to be very good. And I think one more session, and it'll be in great shape. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.